Hey guys, welcome back to Pajama Bosses TV. And yes, as you probably heard in today's episode, it is kind of probably a sticky one. And the reason I'm saying that is, I don't know if you ever feel like at the end of the day, you're pretty tired. It feels like sometimes you stop kind of enjoying the business that you started. And it feels like you don't want to talk to anyone. Have you ever feel like that? Have you ever felt like that? Yeah, okay. So the reason I'm saying that is because this is why the topic of today is, the difference or being an empath versus, being compassionate and understanding. There is a big difference. For those of you that are quite visual, I'm going to be going into my computer, in a few seconds or a few minutes. And I'm going to be kind of sharing with you a little bit of drawing so you can have a visual image of what it means to do one and the other. And there is a big difference. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you today is, again, nobody's perfect, right? And we all need to understand who we are and what triggers us, right? And what are the things that are kind of draining our energy? What are the things that we feel empowered and we do more of, right? And within that, we need to do one thing, right? Which is to manage the energy that we have throughout the day. Some people will call, like, if you had 100 units, right? And at the end of the day, in an ideal day, you basically right before you go to bed, maybe you have used all those energy, all those units of energy, like the 100 units, right? That will probably be, again, in my eyes, probably the perfect day, right? In terms of the energy, have you been managing that, and then you recharge, and the following morning again, you have recharged so much that you have another 100 units of energy to use throughout the day, and again, whatever I'm saying, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a personal development speaker or anything of that sort. I just try to understand, for me, how can I become more effective and productive throughout the day. Now, in regards to those units of energy, for example, have you ever felt that, let's say that if you had 100 units of energy, they're gone, halfway through the day sometimes. And it has nothing to do, when I'm talking about the energy, I'm talking about how you feel, it's nothing to do with the actual energy that you feel, but how you feel about, maybe doing some work for your business or maybe hiding and not talking to anyone. Have you ever felt that you're talking to people and after talking to 2, 3, 4, 5 people or however many people you talk throughout the day, that you just don't want to talk to anyone anymore because it's just you can't handle that anymore, right? Now, this is why. One of the reasons that this happens is because we tend to be very understanding about people's situation, but we tend to buy into their own life and excuses, and we kind of get involved in feeling and putting ourselves in their shoes, right? You've heard that before. I'm putting myself in someone else's shoes. And when you do that, sometimes if you're not mindful of it, what happens is that you start feeling what they're feeling. Now, technically, it's like, in a way, it's like you're taking them, putting them on your back and carrying them around. And then you meet with the next person, you have a conversation about the business, the things that are not happening, all these things that they're upset about in their life, that affect the business. And then you kind of, because you want to empathize with them, right? Sometimes I say build rapport, but then it crosses the line into empathize, right? Then you go and again, you buy into their own life and then you put yourself in their shoes again, and then it's the second person that you're carrying on your back. Does that sound familiar maybe sometimes? And eventually you feel so tired and so like everything is heavy, right? Now, that is kind of a little bit like, in a way, being an empath. Now, what I'm talking about today is about managing that, but still being effective at helping people, because again, the challenge with being an empath sometimes is that eventually you run out of energy because you are giving the energy to everybody, right? And eventually you have no energy, so you run out of it. And when you actually need to help the next person, you can't, or you can, because there isn't any. You have nothing to give, right? So instead of that, on the other side, let's talk about being, compassionate and understanding. Compassion and understanding in my world, I guess, in my own understanding is to still, as much as I kind of quote unquote can put myself in someone else's shoes, I have a line, a virtual, hypothetical line in between myself and the person that I'm talking to, right? Where I never cross. And if somebody was to cross that line, is the person that I'm talking to come on my side to understand that at the end of the day, no matter what happens in their life, they're going to have to, create the results so they can get out of the situation that they have. Is that making sense so far? Maybe I'm just a little bit theoretically here talking and speaking, and it gets a little bit confusing, right? So again, on a nutshell, basically, compassion and understanding is you are talking to someone, right? And they are telling you the challenges they're having in their life, and you do understand those challenges. You can, relate to those, but yet you're not buying into their excuses and feeling sorry for them in a way that then you go there and you carry them on your back so you can now, do some kind of, in the best possible way, to do some charity, right? In a way that you feel so sorry for them that you want to do it for them, right? On the other side, being compassionate means, yes, I understand your situation, and I understand that, basically is not the best situation to be in, and I understand your challenges, but here's the solution. And this is how we're going to come up with the solution, and this is what you need to take responsibility for to get out of where you are. And in the meantime, I will be here. I'm going to extend that helping hand to you, and as long as you grab it just to get out of where you are, I will help you. But I'm not going to extend that hand and then go back to your level, because now we're both in the same situation, and I can't afford myself to be in a situation like that, because there is other people that need my attention and my energy so I can actually help them. Is that making sense so far? Now, as I said, for those of you that are more visual, I am visual, I don't know, I need to see things sometimes to see how they work, and have a mental picture kind of helps. I'm going to go back to my office right here, and I'm going to draw a few things, and hopefully that helps you to understand a little bit what I mean, okay? So give me 2 seconds. I'm going to set up the computer, and I'll explain a little bit again in a mental picture how you can probably sometimes, make sure that you don't cross that line, so you have that energy throughout the day so you can help everybody. Okay, I'll see you now. Excellent. Here I am. So again, as I said, if you are very visual, this might help you always to have that mental image of, what is that line that I was talking about, or what mental picture you should have when you're talking to someone, so you're aware that if you cross that line, you may be giving away more of the energy that you probably could or should, in order to be effective. And again, everything that we do, has consequences, right? So, I'm not saying that you should not care about people, or they should ignore other people, or anything like that. I'm just saying that for those of you that want to help others, you need to first take care of yourself in a way that you have, that you're in a situation that you can actually help, right? First of all, right? So anyway, I'm going to share the screen with you guys, and we're going to talk about, those mental images. Now, as I'm sharing the screen with you, one of the things that obviously for those of you, and this is the software, the new software, where is that? Here, yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you, for those of you that are technical, obviously, if you go to what empathy means, is the capability or the capacity to understand or feel another person experiencing from within their frame of reference. There is the capacity to place oneself in another's position, right? Again, what is then compassion? Well, compassion, it motivates people to go out of their way and help physical, mental, or emotional pains of others and themselves, Again, pretty much, as you probably can see, I don't know if there is much difference. And again, English is not my first language, but I would say that they look pretty, they are different, but they don't seem very different at the same time, which is caring about people, right? But again, being able to kind of understand it, and being able to kind of see when you're crossing that line, it may help you to stay more on the side where you're going to keep that energy, okay? And as you can see here on the screen, there is a couple of pictures that I kind of put here, and here's kind of the first one. So on the right hand side, we have what it would be empathy. Now the blue kind of stick man, that would be you, and let's say the black one is the person that you are having a conversation with, the person that you have in your team, that person that seems to be attracted to maybe drama sometimes. Those are the ones that you probably would agree with me, that are the ones that kind of drag your energy the most, right? And in that situation, let's say here, for example, this is kind of the line, and the way I kind of picture sometimes is that people are, they seem to be a hole, or in in a situation where they feel like they are down and everything, right? So in that regards, for me, doing it the way that, the way that I used to do it, I would come down here, and I don't know about you, but I would come down here and basically, in my mind, I would build a ladder down, and instead of getting that person to come up here, what I would do is, instead of doing that, I would be kind of the one climbing down the ladder, if it makes any sense. I would be the one coming here and coming to their level, having a conversation and trying to convince this person, right, to come out. And guess what? If you ever try that, it doesn't really happen most of the time, because once you've done this one time, guess what happens the next time? The next time, this person, what are they going to do? Well, last time, Miguel kind of came and kind of helped me. So maybe this time Miguel can come and help me again, because he makes me feel good about my situation, and why would I get out? At the end of the day, I'm getting his attention, and that's all I want, and again, the second time happens the same, and the third time. And eventually, is this a situation where we get sick and tired of the one person or a few people, and then we end up not even talking to them, maybe because we are too tired and we ignore them. And then this person gets upset. Make sense so far? Yes? Now, here's the other situation, and again, I'm not saying, and just to kind of clarify, I'm not saying that, this is right or wrong, okay? I'm just, again, stating the situation where, for me, being an empath that I am, I need to be aware of, right? I need to understand it, right? So then I can manage my energy better, and I can help more people and be more effective, right? So on the other hand, being compassionate and understanding, or have compassion and understanding for someone, this is what it means to me. It means that, again, you're going to have a line that you're not going to cross. And what you're going to be doing is, you can look it at whichever way. You're going to build that bridge, and that bridge is about, them understanding that there is certain responsibilities that need to agree upon, right? Certain things that they need to want to change, which is the main thing, right? And the next thing is they need to be willing to take action, action. And the very last thing, which is the super important one, which is to take responsibility for where they're at. There is absolutely zero tolerance for excuses, because the moment you tolerate their excuses, what you're buying into is exactly this situation. When you feel sorry for someone and you actually buy into their excuses and their situation while they're there, you're pretty much buying into their excuses, and you're actually coming down to their level, or coming to their situation, or into their lives. And for as long as you do that, there is no need for this person to change. In here, what I am going to do is, I'm going to, again, from my side, encourage that person, and, empower that person, and give them tools, like hopefully something like this, where, by me educating, and this is kind of the bottom line of everything, education, right? Educating someone so they are aware the reason they are there, and they understand it, so they don't come back to that situation, or if they do, they have the capability to get out of it. That's what this is all about, and in an empathetic way, if you feel for someone, is like you're carrying this person on your shoulder, and then you meet the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and eventually you are so tired you have no energy for yourself or anybody else, right? So in here, I am coaching people through what needs to be done in order for them to get out of the situation that they have currently. That's kind of the bottom line. And again, if you feel like you are, this type of person that you tend to relate sometimes too much to people, and you cross that line, and you become, an empath that loses all the energy, and you get sick and tired of doing the business. And here's the consequences of all this. When you're building networks of distribution, or you're talking to, creating big teams, eventually you're gonna not want to have those big teams, although in some level you probably do. In a subconscious level, I would say, you probably don't want to have those big teams, because imagine having 100 times as many challenges as you're having right now, and you cannot hardly cope, you know, with the ones that you have. Imagine when the team kind of 10x or 100x, right? So you've been able to manage, you know, and again, nothing is perfect in this life, and it's always about, you know, balancing, you know, that, you know, that life that we all have, and making sure that in life at the end of the day is either results or excuses. And one of the excuses is I'm too tired, people don't do what I tell them, my team is not working, how can I motivate my team, for example? You know, this is also one of the things, because you are the one giving them all the energy all the time. They don't even know how to create the energy themselves to be able to, you know, to actually take responsibility. Okay, now I hope all this makes sense. This was another episode of Pajama Bosses TV. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you go click here, and if you haven't subscribed, you click on any of the buttons that are right here and click subscribe if you like it, and let us know your thoughts. As I said, you know, just to kind of leave you with this, I'm not a kind of a psychologist or anything like that. I don't really understand the human mind or anything like that. What I do understand is one thing: no matter what happens in my life, I need to create kind of ways for me to be able to be effective and productive. And this is, in my mind, what I was sharing with you today. This is one of them, you know, to understand that after, you know, being in business for 16 plus years, you know, in kind of talking to people on a daily basis, we have plenty of clients in our programs, you know, the Six Figure Circle, the Inner Circle, in the software that you kind of briefly probably saw in this video. At the end of the day, we want to help people, and to be able to do that, you know, there is limited energy we have. And by the way, in addition to that, we have a beautiful addition to the family. He's 9 months old now. His name is Max, and probably you will see a picture here. And obviously he needs our help, right? My help as a father, right? And those of you that have kids probably will understand this very well. It is one of the priorities and one of the blessings in our life, right? To be able to pass on sometimes our limiting beliefs too, but, you know, to kind of our knowledge and create this beautiful human being that can be of good to the world, right? And for that, you need that energy. You need to be able to manage that and be able to pass it on and educate that little person to become, you know, a full-grown, in this case, full-grown man, right? Anyway, with that said, again, thank you again for watching this episode. Again, click subscribe or comment below, and I hope it was useful. And have an amazing day, amazing week, wherever you're watching this this video from around the world. And we will see you on the next episode of Pajama Bosses TV. See ya. Okay, ready? Ready? And he's about to kick it. You can do it. You can do it, Max. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Oy. You need help? Okay. 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 Let's. And go away. Way. Yay! Just kicked it. And now he's gonna go get it.